This is Chris, and I'm going to do another subnetting example using the chart that I teach in class. This is just going through the same steps that we normally go through. So this is the second example. So first off, this is the address we're dealing with, 158.96.0.1 with the /19 CIDR or CEDR, however you like to say it, and a subnet mask of 255.255.224.0. So first thing I'm going to do is show you how to work this address out. So let's get rid of that. And let's say all we have is the CIDR. Alright? And to work out that subnet mask, the trick is to plug as many 255s in as you can until you can't plug any more in. And basically 255 is worth 8 binary bits. So that's the most bits you can get out of an octet. So you plug as many of those in, getting close to the 19 as you can. So we're going to say the first octet is going to be 255, and that's going to give you 8 bits, but you got to get to 19. The next octet is 255. That's going to give you another 8 bits. Still got to get to 19. Now you can't plug another 255 in because that would go over the 19. That would take you up to 24. So far you have accounted for 16 bits. Now we got to get to 19 though. So 8 plus 8 is 16, going to 19. The difference between 19 and 16 is 3. So you're going to count over using the chart. The top line is labeled subnet mask. So 3 over 1, 2, 3. 224 is going to be the very next octet. And then the last octet is going to be 0. So anytime you have anything left over, it's going to be 0. And that is going to give you your subnet mask of 255.255.224.0. Now to do this in reverse, all you have to do, let's say you did not know what the CIDR was, and you needed to figure out the CIDR, which is very important because it gives you information about how many hosts and things you can have per subnet. But to figure the CIDR out, just calculate how many bits each octet is worth in binary. 255 is worth 8 ones, so that's going to be 8 ones right here. And then the next 255 would be worth another 8 ones. And then 224, you may not know how many bits it's worth off the top of your head, but you can count over. It's worth 1, 2, 3 bits. So that will be 3 bits there. And the last octet is going to be 0 bits, obviously. So put a 0 there. So now just add them up. 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 3 is 19. So that is going to be our CIDR, /19. Okay, so the next thing is, let's take a look at how many subnets you can have. You can tell how many subnets you have by this magic number right here. The magic number is the number that's normally not 0 and normally not 255 majority of the time. It's that weird looking number there in the subnet mask, and you only have one. So go to the chart on that number and then come all the way down to the bottom, to the middle, and that tells you the number of subnets you're dealing with. So in a classful environment like what we're working with here, we could have 8 subnets total. Alright. The next question is to figure out how many hosts per subnet. So 8 subnets, but how many IP addresses on each subnet. So to do that, the easiest way to do it, in my opinion, and the way I always teach it, kind of a quick way, is to put a 32 over the CIDR, because there's 32 total bits in an IP address in IP version 4. So 32 minus 19, okay, and that's going to be 13. So 32 minus 19 is 13, and then you're going to plug that into a formula that's going to give you the answer. And the formula is 2 to the power of h, and again, some people like to say n, 2 to the power n, whatever floats your boat there. 2 to the power of h minus 2 equals, and then that's going to give you your answer. So 2 to the power of h, which is the 13, that's the number of host bits you can have. Alright, so you plug that into the formula, and if you do, you bring up the calculator to do that. And again, if it starts out in standard view, just change it to scientific view. You're going to go 2 xy, which is 2 to the power of 13 minus 2 equals 8,190 hosts per subnet which is way more than you normally would want on a single subnet, but the point is to try to work it out. Alright, so there we go. So we worked that out. The next part is to work out what the ranges are. Now let me clean this up a little bit so that we don't have so much going on there. So much happening. Okay, so the next thing is to figure out what your ranges are. So we're going to work out the first 3 ranges. There's 8 subnets. We could actually work out 8 ranges, but look at the magic number, and this is going to give you some good information. It's going to give you something called the range increment. So I come all the way down, and my range increment is 32. Alright, so the first thing we do is look at what numbers in the subnet mask, or what numbers in the IP address here are set in stone. Now that's just my terminology for they'll always be the same on each subnet. Anything with a 255 underneath it will always stay the same. So the 158 has a 255 and the 96 does, so those numbers are going to be the same. So we're going to come over here and we're going to put 158.96.0.1. That's the first usable address. Now it isn't the first address completely because of the fact that you could go 9600, except you're not supposed to use the very first address and you're not supposed to use the very last address. The first address is the network and the last address is the broadcast. That's why you have to do the -2 when you're calculating the host. So the ending to this is where things get a little tricky. 158.96. Now you have to figure out what incremental value you're moving in. So as I said, you're going to look at the magic number, which is 224, come up here, come all the way down. We're moving in increments of 32. So that number is actually going to be 31.254. Now the reason it's that is because remember we started with 0. We did not start with 1. So you're ending on 31. Now if you do the math, you'll actually find that that is 32 numbers right there. And that is going to be subnet number 1. Alright. Subnet number 2 would be 158.96. We ended all the 31, so it's going to be 32.1. Alright. Through 158.96.63.254. And that is going to be subnet number 2. And subnet number 3 is going to be 158.96.64, because we ended all the 63s, .1, through 158.96, I'm sorry, yeah, .96.95.254. And that is going to be subnet number 3. And yet again, I could have done this a total of 8 times, but I'm just working out the first 3 here. And you can kind of see the pattern from that. Alright, so this concludes my second example of working out a subnetting problem. And keep an eye on twitter.com/instructorchris for updates, and my YouTube is youtube.com/instructorchris123. Hope this has been helpful to some people.